I am Dawn Black, um, editor of the Wikipedia and Kitchen Witch Corner. And today we're talking about the herbs of Mars. We witches, herbalists, alchemists have been categorizing plants and minerals according to their elemental and planetary energies for millennia. This helps us choose which plants are most appropriate to solve a condition or bring about a result in the body or in our environment. We have correspondence tables to look at to tell us what plants correspond to the various planetary energies, but with a little practice we can identify these herbs in an intuitive manner. Today we're talking about the herbs of Mars, and you will learn how to recognize the energy of Mars in plants and how to use the energy for healing and magic, as well as a few gardening and cooking tips and some of my simple go-to spells. Most of what I will be talking about are common kitchen and garden herbs because I really enjoy growing my own herbs, and I don't have a budget to buy anything exotic. Before I begin, though, I want to make clear that I do not recommend anyone turn to herbs in place of modern health care. Herbal medicine today is supportive medicine, and you should talk to your doctor about what herbal remedies you're using, because some of them are, sometimes they're contraindicated in the presence of certain conditions and medications. Likewise, I also do not recommend anyone use magic alone as their only form of protection. If you are in danger, you should contact the police, move out of the way of danger if you can, cast a spell for protection as a supportive measure, not as your primary measure. Magic supports mundane efforts, it does not take the place of them. That being said, let's take a look at Mars and its plants. So this is the glyph for Mars. It's very, the energy of Mars is aggressive and penetrating. It represents the protector, the defender, the bodyguard. In the body, Mars energy acts on the adrenal glands, the gonads, and the blood, and it stimulates the immune system. Mars protects the body castle, and it has no patience for invaders or passengers. When the adrenal glands are stimulated, we feel a rush of energy. Our blood is pumping as it moves out to our extremities to prepare for fight or flight or some other exciting activity. We generate heat. Our face may become hot, even red, showing Mars in all its glory. If our adrenal glands are excessively stimulated, we can express extreme Mars energy of irritability and even violence. This is a stress reaction. Mars can be stressful, and it also gives us the wherewithal to deal with stressful situations. Mars also stimulates the immune system to help defend against and fight off illnesses. Again, you can see that in the heat of a fever. So what does this have to do with Mars plants? The plants that demonstrate Mars energy tend to show their Mars energy pretty boldly. They're often irritating. They might be prickly, or they might have a caustic sap that causes skin irritation, or they might have a very strong smell that irritates the eyes and the mucous membranes. Mars plants often have red-colored parts, and they may contain minerals that are also ruled by Mars, such as iron and sulfur. Edible and medicinal Mars plants tend to act on the adrenals or give the body an adrenal-like reaction. They can stimulate heat in the body, strengthen the immune system, and or act on the blood to strengthen or purify it. Many Mars plants also act as vasodilators. It can help lower blood pressure. um, and get the blood moving through the body. Mars plants often act on the male sex organs, sometimes bringing blood to the area to enhance potency, and sometimes support of the organs such as the prostate. If you have a uterus, though, you want to be aware that some Mars plants will stimulate the uterus, and this can be hazardous to a pregnancy, especially early on. Mars is not a fan of passengers, but this doesn't mean that you have to avoid all Mars plants. Many are very nutritious and can be valuable, can bring valuable nutrients to both the parent and the fetus, as long as they're eaten in moderate amounts. But some of your more famous plants for encouraging delayed menstruation, like pennyroyal and rue, those are Mars plants. Many Mars plants are also purifying, and this action may be subtle, purifying like sweating or a diuretic action, or it may be a more aggressive purging action. Some of these plants were used historically to get rid of parasites like worms. Mars does not tolerate invaders. Passengers, invaders, Mars doesn't want anything to do with them. In magic, Mars energy is put to good use in protection and defense spells. And although Mars does act on the blood and the gonads, it is not an herb to use for the heart, unless you're trying to end a relationship. Mars is my go-to energy. Mars is my go-to energy for breaking love spells. Well, garlic. It's easy to grow, it's easy to store, and it's a powerhouse of magical and healing potential. It's antifungal, antibacterial, antiviral, antioxidant. Mars plants tends to be anti-stuff. They also tend to be irritating and strong tasting and smelling, and garlic and its fellow Mars cousin, the onion, are irritating to the eyes, have the strong taste, strong smell that many find unpleasant. It's one thing on the breast, but it's even more offensive when you start to sweat it out. Yeah. A braid of garlic makes a nice decoration on your kitchen door and is also a convenient way to store your garlic, provided you grew a soft neck variety. And it protects you from vampires, of course, and it keeps illnesses and nightmares at bay. And if you have a persistent wannabe lover coming around and you just can't get them to go away, you take a bulb of garlic and push 2 iron nails into it so that they cross and put it underneath your porch, and that will soon stop him coming around. If he keeps coming around, call the police because that's stopping. Eating garlic is great for the cardiovascular system and the immune system. You can get tablets, but it's actually better to eat garlic raw to achieve its benefits, because the active chemical allicin is produced when the garlic is crushed and allowed to rest for a few minutes. But once it's cooked and dried, the chemical starts to break down again. Allicin is a powerful antioxidant. Garlic contains lots of zinc and vitamin C too, so it's just really good for general health protection, which is, very Mars of it. A wonderful way to get your daily dose of garlic, if you like it, is hummus. There's lots of dips that you can crush your garlic into and then, dip your veggies or chips or whatever it is to get that fresh crushed garlic without actually eating straight garlic. And hummus freezes really well. I like to put it in just a bag and then flatten it, and then you can just slide it into the freezer and stack them like books, and it saves a lot of space that way. You can also add it to pesto, which is of course wonderful on pasta, but you can also put it on top of chicken or fish, or thin it with some vinegar and toss it into a salad, steamed or roasted vegetables. Pesto is easy to make in the blender, and so is hummus, and it's just a great way to get all sorts of nutrition. And another thing you should add to your pesto is nettles. That's another powerful Mars herb. Nettles leaves have lots of iron, which is a Mars metal, And I highly recommend you combine these to get your general health protection, nettles and garlic together. Nettles is a traditional remedy for seasonal allergies or hay fever, and also for high blood pressure. Stinging nettles shows its Mars not just in its high mineral content, but it also is a serious irritant. When you touch the raw, fresh plant, you get that sting from the little hypodermic needles. But if you process it in any way, you dry it, you cook it, you put it in the blender, it goes away. It renders it inert. So you want to use gloves when you're harvesting them, but don't worry about burning your mouth when you eat them after they've been prepared. They'll be fine. Nettles were traditionally added to spring tonics to kind of get out all the stagnant energy of winter and perk up the body in preparation for the work that was coming as the growing season comes back. Nettles also acts on the male reproductive system. It does support the prostate gland, and as I mentioned with some other Mars herbs, it can stimulate uterine contractions. So if you're in the early stages of pregnancy or trying to get pregnant, you may wish to just moderate your consumption of nettles or skip them altogether. And they are also very cleansing to the body, so they act as a diuretic. So if you're taking any diuretics already, you don't want to double up. Magically, nettles have very protective energy. Dried nettles can be ground and added to protective powders. You can steep nettles in hot water and add to the bath or drink the tea to wash away unwanted energies, break hexes, and create a protective barrier against the future invasion of these energies. Especially in the cases of hexes that bring about weakness or insecurity. I also like nettle tea as part of a mirror spell. You just bathe the mirror in the nettle tea as you declare your intent for the mirror to send any negative energies, hexes, spells back to the sender, and then place the mirror in the window to do its job, preferably a north-facing window, so there's no danger of the mirror reflecting sunlight onto something flammable, because that would just be embarrassing. You can also bring nettles into your kitchen witchery for seduction. It does improve that blood flow, brings the blood all to the right places, encouraging, attention. Next, we're going to talk about peppers. I got these dried peppers here. Peppers are out of season. Cayenne pepper is most often mentioned for healing and magic, but there are many peppers that will work as well. Capsaicin is the chemical you're looking for here. And I do have a blog article at sacredhearts.com about peppers, if you want to check that out. Peppers are often red, though they do come in other colors. They are hot and spicy. They bring the heat, and they really get that blood flowing. They're also loaded with vitamin C and antioxidants, which keep the immune system strong. Powdered cayenne pepper can be sprinkled on a wound to stop the bleeding and prevent infection. And pepper poultices are used to bring heat to the extremities. You can hang up the dried red peppers on a string and hang them on the door to provide protection, just like your garlic braids, except perhaps not so specifically indicated for vampires. You can carry pepper spray to protect against attack. Ancient South Americans, I understand, used to burn hot peppers to fill the air with smoke to defend against invaders. Capsaicin is no joke. If you do end up with pepper spray, capsaicin in your eyes, the cure for this is milk. You don't want to try to use skim milk. It's the fat that you want. So you just pour it over. The fat will bind to the pepper oils. Water will not work. When you're handling peppers, you want to wear gloves You will think that you washed your hands and then discover when you touch your face or go to the bathroom that you did not wash them good enough. And it could take like a whole day of several washings before you're okay again to touch anybody or anything. But the capsaicin on the skin can actually help with muscle pain and even migraines. It sort of like distracts you from the pain. It distracts your brain from the pain because you've got this other pain happening, I suppose. Hot peppers are a traditional remedy for fighting really phlegmy colds. They can be steeped in alcohol like brandy or vodka or in vinegar, and they are but one ingredient in fire cider, which is Rosemary Gladstar's famous winter tonic. But yeah, so sorry. And then another important ingredient for the fire cider is this ugly thing right here. This is a horseradish root, and I broke it off. I pulled it out of the ground. The ground's pretty hard right now because it's cold out. But here's the rest of it. Well, not the rest. There's actually more still in the ground. In true Mars fashion, this thing is really stinking up my kitchen, but it's not as bad as it will be when I start to grate it. It starts to release these oils that are super irritating. They'll make your eyes burn. Like the whole first floor of my house will vacate when I start grinding up this stuff. And I do use my food processor. I am not grating it by hand. I am a modern witch. I am not going to suffer like my ancestors. This will clear your sinuses. This is great, again, for those phlegmy coughs. It will get your blood flowing. It will get your nose running. It is rich in vitamin C, antioxidants. And again, put it in your fire cider. It can be used in spells to foil efforts to get in the way of your goals. And you can place it in corners of your home to keep out malevolent spirits and magic, or dry it in a powder and add it to powders for that purpose. There is a long-standing tradition of strongly smelling herbs being used to drive out evil influences. Horseradish, I understand, is used in spells for sexual potency and satisfaction. I am not sure how this works. I think it's done like through visualization. But if you can get your man to eat enough of it, it does get the blood flowing down there, just like the rest of the Mars plants. My man can't stand the stuff. But also, the common globe artichoke has, globe radish has similar qualities, and they're easier to eat in quantity, and they will help lower your blood pressure and get your blood flowing. My husband also won't eat these. All right, I'm just going to talk about two more, ginger and thyme. And ginger, of course, I got this from the store. I did not grow this in my house, although you can grow these in pots. This is another fiery herb, and this herb adds energy to any situation. You can include it in any spell to bring the power. And you can put it in your fire cider to keep those winter colds at bay. It is also, I find that it is also really good for like muscle aches. Like and of course it's good for digestion as well. And a lot of these Mars herbs are the heat in the belly traditionally was associated with digestion, with proper digestion. So if your digestion is sluggish, then adding heat to the foods through things like horseradish and ginger and hot peppers would encourage that digestion and you know, get things get things working properly there, stoke the fires in the belly. But I've brought up fire a couple times, and so I think it might be a good idea to talk about the difference between the elemental and the planetary correspondence here. They are two different systems, and they did develop side by side, and they have quite a bit of overlap. Many Mars plants also correspond to the element of fire, but not all of them. So don't let that confuse you. There were only 4 elements in 7 planets traditionally. There's more now, but traditionally. But there will be some overlap. Some Mars plants correspond to water. Some fire plants correspond to the sun, and there's overlaps all over the place. In traditional healing, if you had like cold, wet condition that was phlegmy or caused chills, or your hands and feet were cold, you would bring the fire herb to get that, or your digestion was sluggish. Those were all cold conditions. You would bring the fire herbs in, and a lot of the Mars herbs would be included in that. But again, that's a different system, so it's a little different, but related. We're just going to focus on Mars. Back to my last Mars garden plant today is this is thyme, and this is one of my favorites because it grows so easily. It's super cute in the garden. It's like a little ground cover, and it makes pretty flowers in the summer. And it smells like clean to me. I use this a lot for general cleansing. You know how people are always telling you to smudge your house with white sage? Well, folks in Europe did that too before, but they didn't use white sage because white sage was in America, not in Europe. They often used thyme. Thyme was one of those smudging herbs that was used by our Western European ancestors, and also in the Greeks did too. And it was often used to cleanse a sick room, to get all those sickness energies and spiritual nasties away, to prevent everyone else in the household from getting sick as well. And it's great in a tea for fighting those phlegmy colds and coughs also. I like to use it in, I'm not a big fan of burning things in my house, so I usually use it in my wash water, and I use it as a general. It's also a real life, or not, it's also a mundane disinfectant, antibacterial, etc. So I use it to keep, I use it in my general cleanser to disinfect my surfaces, as well as to wash away the spiritual nasties and keep it. And it's delicious to cook with as well. So, and it grows like a weed, and it's gorgeous. So it's one of my very, very favorites. So in the garden, if you don't have time, you should. It's so easy to grow. So Mars plants, they tend to be hot and irritating, as I mentioned. They're often red, and they might grow thorny and prickly. Now that thorny prickliness is very useful in garden magic. Planting a prickly hedge around your garden, something like holly or barberry or cedar, all Mars herbs, these will help protect your garden and property from negative energies from the outside. Something like the evil eye, which is generally triggered by jealousy from someone outside looking in. Those thorny, prickly Mars plants create a barrier that kind of breaks up that energy and neutralizes it. So I obviously can't talk about every Mars plant because there are millions, maybe not millions, but I would be here forever. And I just wanted to share some of the plants that I generally use and ones that are easily available to you and to myself. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I will come back and I will I will answer in the chat later and check out community.wikipedia.com for the schedule. And have a wonderful day.